folks. Welcome to The View for your match day preview for Leeds United's next home game against Oxford United. Back at home, so good vibes and nothing but good vibes as we approach what should be on paper a winnable game for Leeds United back at Ellen Road after a tricky game on the road at Preston. Delighted to be joined as always by my co-host for this, Andrew Stats. Dalton, great to have you back, mate. Do need to make people aware, currently I'm playing Windows 11 roulette. My laptop is going through an installation right now. I hope that had been done before we went live. So if I vanish for a couple of minutes, Stats has got you covered. And I'll be back in a minute. So
I will, Phil.
Just in case. Yeah. How are you, mate? How's things?
I'm all right. It's been a good week, positive week with work. I've had a couple of days off just to do a bit of Christmas shopping, as you do. Spent quite a bit of money, as you do. I can't believe it's actually the festivities, next Tuesday. Comes and goes. And, yeah, ready to look forward to what's probably one of the most important periods, not just for Leeds United season, but for any football club season as well, isn't it? The Christmas period where you kind of start to sense who's going to pull away, which teams are going to be here, there and everywhere. And Leeds have got 4 games over the Christmas and New Year period, starting on Saturday. And no disrespect to Oxford United, and we'll come to them in a little bit. But yeah, opportunity again for Leeds. They're at home. They're 8 with a win consecutively at home. They should get a win on Saturday before 2 very tricky away games at Stoke City and Derby County. So before finishing the new year home to Blackburn Rovers. But yeah, again, looking forward to it. Very much excited. Always good to get down to Ellen Road for a home game against a side that's in a little bit of disarray at the moment.
Yeah, there's a lot going on at Oxford. There's a lot going on at Leeds. Daniel Farke's press conference today, he's given some insight on a lot of stuff, and we'll get to that as we go through the stream tonight. There is a couple of things to catch up on in that, but also just looking at the form of everybody in the league. Leeds back at home stats, 9 wins in 11 games for Leeds United since they've been back at Ellen Road. That one hiccup at home and only 1 draw. Pretty much fortress Ellen Road right now, and it's needed to be with the away form being slightly patchy, put it that way, I suppose, for lack of a better term at the moment. We'll get into it in more detail, but coming up against an Oxford United side stats that haven't won a game on the road this year, and I've only got the second worst away record, second only to Plymouth, who we beat pretty comfortably and probably should have put more goals past than we actually did. But what are your thoughts coming into this game, stats against Oxford, looking at Leeds' home record, looking at what Oxford are bringing to the table? And I should also be said, for context, manager Des Buckingham lost his job last week in what was a surprising dismissal for me. I'm not sure what Oxford thought they were going to do this season, but I would have thought they were probably punching slightly above their weight, even in the lower mid-table, but outside of those relegation spots. So Stats, what's your thoughts on this one? Just when
I think starting off with Oxford United, I think they've not been in the second tier of English football since 1999. But I think they were under Malcolm Crosby, Dennis Smith back then, and other players like Dean Windass was there. Just to name one, Matt Elliott had a spell there in the mid-90s as well. And I think when you've just come up from League One, there's got to be an expectation that your aim is just to survive. And that's no disrespect to Oxford United. And not every team does an Ipswich and goes back to back. And the home form has actually been quite decent. And I know they got beat to Sheffield Wednesday last weekend, and that was the end of Des Buckingham, which I thought was disappointing from an Oxford point of view. And he's done really well considering where they were when he took over. He's an Oxford-born lad as well, and they'll be disappointed at Kazam, and their expectation is just to stay in the Championship. As for Leeds, we know that the away form's a little bit of an Achilles heel at the moment. They've got a point, and to be fair to them, they did keep on going right to the end, and Daniel said that in his post-match press conference at Deepdale on Saturday. But again, this is a game Leeds should win, and I think they will win. I think they'll win quite convincingly against an Oxford United side that, as you rightly say, you can look at the home table and the away table, and Leeds, I think they must be near top of the home table, I would guess, and sort of mid-table in the away table. So yeah, nine wins, 1 draw, one loss. That loss against Burnley and the draw against Portsmouth. 8 on the trot. Record is 14 over the 2008, 2009, 2010 seasons. So yeah, Oxford haven't been to Ellen Road for a competitive fixture since August 2012, when ironically Sam Barham scored his first goal for the club in a 3-0 victory in the League Cup. So yeah, they're back at home. We know the home form is absolutely magnificent, and it should be a routine victory. And then they do need to start picking up the points away from Ellen Road at sort of the Bet365 on Boxing Day, and then a tricky trip to Pride Park. Okay, we beat Derby quite convincingly, Ellen Road the other week, but this will be a different game. After Christmas, there'll be rotation of squads, you get injuries, maybe suspensions. It's just a really important part of the season, Jay, where we'll hit halfway, and if you kind of replicate where you are halfway, you know you're going to have a chance of being there or thereabouts come the end of the season. But yeah, Saturday should be a routine home win, no disrespect to Oxford United. We saw that the last time out, or last two home games, Derby County, who I thought were very, very poor at Ellen Road, and Middlesbrough gave us a game. But yeah, Oxford United, they don't quite know what kind of direction they're going in. Manager-wise, Gary Wright's been linked, John Terry's been linked. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see where they go for the Kazam Stadium. But from a Leeds perspective, it really should be a straightforward victory at Ellen Road and get back on the track and then pick up some points away from home over Christmas.
Yeah, it's chalk and cheese with home and away. Myself and Lockie last night on the breakdown, we covered the goals that Leeds conceded against Preston, the goal they conceded against Preston, but also there were several warnings before that goal came of very similar moves, and Lockie had done some fantastic analysis to bring that in to go, these were the warning signs and we didn't learn, and the goal comes from that. But then we also looked at the Leeds away form in a bit more detail and tried to crunch the numbers to see, well, are Leeds playing differently and away from home? And the reality was Leeds have less shots away from home on goal, but they concede more shots to opposition. So this myth about teams going and parking the bus against Leeds, funnily enough, teams are creating more chances against Leeds United when Leeds are away from home. So Leeds definitely needs to start preparing for games differently away from home. Daniel Farke has touched on it, but when you look at the home record, and this is a home game, it's quite impressive. Top of the table, joint with Sheffield United on that one. We've a game more played, but nothing but green. Scored 25 goals, conceded 6, 19, plus 19 goal difference. 1-9, drew 1, lost 1. It's only when you flip it to the away record and you see us sitting down here in 8th position in the away table, and there's no wins in the last 5, and we've scored 12 but conceded 9. So it is something that he's looking at. It was brought up in the press conference today, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that before we get into the nitty-gritty of this. He was asked about the starts in the games about conceding the first goal and being unable to come back and win those games. And he said himself that he's possibly identified a slow start to each of those games as the reason. Do you expect to see him make any fundamental changes for the away?
It'd be interesting, because what I will caveat the away form that if you look at 3 games in particular, Sunderland away, if that ball goes into Mellier's hands, Leeds win the game. Blackburn away, they should have had a player sent off. Preston away, they should have had a player sent off. So it's little fine margins at the moment with some of the away games, and it's so hard to put your finger on it, really, isn't it? Of why the sort of slow starters. Because if you look at sort of the Millwall game, the Preston game, the Blackburn game, they're quite similar, aren't they? The home team get that first goal, and then Leeds kind of struggle to kind of break them down. And I think there's still plenty of time left in the season to rectify that. I'm absolutely certain, and I'm certain they'll get it right between now and the end of the season. And they have got opportunities over the Christmas period in Derby and Stoke City. And it was after the Christmas period last season that they went on a wonderful run and went 9 wins in a row and drew the 10th against Huddersfield Town. So if they can go on a similar kind of run, they've got a chance to really pull away and possibly with Sheffield United. And I think that's what they now need to do. They've got time to pick up the points. It's very difficult to understand why they're not picking up the points away from home. But again, it's possibly fine margins as to why they're not picking up the points away from Ellen Road. But they've still got plenty of time to rectify that. I'm sure the players will know that. I know Dan James and Jay Roden did a piece with LUTV this week as to understand why it's been kind of a bit of a slow start. But if they replicate what they do at Ellen Road away from Ellen Road, they'll be there or thereabouts come the end of the season. I'm absolutely sure of that. And I think they do need a little bit of credit for the way that they kept battling away on Saturday at Deepdale, because Dan James hit the crossbar, Paddy was unlucky with a chance, and then Matteo Joseph got himself into a position to score, and obviously went in off Watmore for an own goal. So it's not all doom and gloom. But if they do take the lead away from home, it then becomes a different kettle of fish, and then the opponents are sort of chasing chasing the first goal, the equaliser, should I say? So I wouldn't say it's concerning just yet. I think we've still got a lot of football left to play. We played 21 games, I think it is, this season. We're not even at halfway at the moment. So I'm sure Daniel and the backroom staff and the players will be working ever so hard over the festivities to get the away form right. And once they do get their away form right, I do think they'll end up winning promotion, all being well.
Yeah, folks, let me know in the chat what you think the score will be, or your score predictions. I've gone for a wild one in our score prediction group. I've gone for a 5-0 statement home win because
I've gone just one behind you. I've gone 4.
I think it would calm a lot of people down if we battered somebody. And we've been waiting 2 years to batter somebody, and I think there's a possibility that there's a reaction needed. I think Farka knows a reaction is needed as well. But let me know your score predictions in the chat. I'll save them all, and then towards the end, we'll rattle through everyone's score predictions, see where everybody is. Sean Healy reminded me that we are doing a watch along on Saturday. It's not on YouTube. It's on a platform called Big Up. If you're interested in that, I'll give you the details towards the end of the stream as well, so you can check that out. But it'll be interesting if nothing else, and we'll see if I ever do one again after this. But we'll see how we get on. But yeah, send me your score predictions. I am going to just keep staring them and saving them into the background here, and then we'll have a chat at the end of it. Stats team news wise for Leeds coming into it, it could be a tricky enough one. Pascal Stroke hasn't trained this week with a hamstring problem. Might explain why the pace maybe wasn't there on the turn against Preston as well. He hasn't trained. If he doesn't train tomorrow, he won't be involved, so he needs to get out on the pitch tomorrow. Max Vober has a swollen knee after the 2 games he's played. There's a late check on him, so another centre-back that could be potentially missing in that game. No Junior Firpo still, and no Ilya Groove. Although good news on Groove, he is expected back in training, team training, in January. That doesn't mean he's available for 90 minutes or selection at that point, probably February. And yeah, we'll see. But it's good news to hear that he's back, close to being back. He's back on the grass doing some running, but they did point out, the Bulgarian media did point out, he has swapped running in a straight line on a treadmill for running in a straight line on the grass. There's no contact and there's no twists and turns just yet, but all very good so far. So concerns there, Stats. What do you reckon Leeds do in that situation if they're in a position where there's no Pascal Stroke, no Max Ferber? Do they put Josh Gilavogue in there? Do they flirt with Sam Byram in there? Do they look at somebody else? You mentioned somebody before we came on.
Yeah, I think that there is options there. Obviously, Ethan Ampadu is a potential. I know he's not started a game for a wee while. And he look at what happened last season when it had Ampadu and Rodon at the centre halves and just went on that magnificent run. So that's a possibility. You could possibly drop Giavodji. I can never know that. Giavodji. Even Tanaka, I think, has played there a little bit when needed, when players are sort of moved around. So there is options there, and even James DeBeo, if needs be, could drop in there. But again, no disrespect to Oxford, I think we've got the players to go and beat to go and beat them at Ellen Road, in regards of whether Struick plays or not. Again, Verber is a possible doubt. Obviously, there's no Firpo there. Do we see Isaac Schmidt as a potential? I don't know where he is in the pecking order as well, but Sam Byram could potentially come in. He's closing in on I think 200 appearances. I think he's on 197 with Ilan Meslier at the moment, so he will probably hit 200 against Derby County potentially just at the end of this year. So there are options there, but again, it's another home game, and it's another game that I'm fully expecting to win, and win quite comfortably. And it would be nice to put a bit of a statement victory out, and it'd be nice to do what Tottenham did against Southampton on Sunday evening and be 5-0 up at half time, and you can just kind of put the game to bed and be done with. And I was working out, Leeds haven't been 5-0 up at half time in the league games since 1955, so it'd be nice to kind of break that record, but that's for another day. But yeah, the players that they've got on the pitch, whether Struick plays or not, whether Verber plays or not, it's an opportunity against a side that don't quite know what direction they're going with the manager at the moment, and it's a game that you fully expect Leeds to go and win silly Ellen Road.
Yeah, look, there's options there anyway. If nothing else, Leeds can bring players in from elsewhere, and as you say, Ampadu is probably the likely one, but Gilavogi's fit, as has been said. He is the fitter of the two probably right now, and has played centre back. In fact, played more time last season at centre back than he did in midfield. Yes. So could very easily do a job for us. And I'd like to see him on the pitch. He's a big, impressive unit. He's physical. He's strong. He's vocal. Might give Leeds what they need in certain moments in that game. But yeah, I would be okay with that as well. What was I going to say to you there? Oxford all round this year stats, although they're sitting in, 18th place in the table, 20th in the league, 2 places outside of the relegation zone. They have only scored 7 goals away from home this season and conceded 18 goals on the road, and have 4 consecutive losses on the bounce on the road. So everything there suggests a 1-0 win to Oxford.
We've been down that route before, haven't we? Where we've said that, but now this should be a routine victory for Leeds on Saturday afternoon. You have to say you've got a team that a little bit of disarray, sacking Des Booking, which again I don't quite understand, because the expectation has to be from an Oxford perspective to stay in the league and not kind of do what other teams have done. They were never going to do what Ipswich do and go back to back, because it's very difficult to do that. So yeah, it's an opportunity. Hopefully get some goals. It'd be nice to have just seen there in the comments, see Tanaka to score. We need 4 players to score for Leeds to make 500 different players that have scored for the football club. So if Tanaka, Joshua can score, and a couple of others, maybe Debay if he gets it on the act as well. So yeah, it's a game. You're at home, Jay. It's just before Christmas, and yeah, take the handbrake off, and go for it, and literally go for minute 1, get an early goal, settle everybody down, and get 3 points, and that'll be the important thing. I've not seen the fixtures, not really had a chance to look at the fixtures. I don't know where Sheffield United are this weekend, and I'm not seeing where Sunderland and Burnley are. I assume Burnley are at home. Sunderland and Sheffield United must be away this weekend, so we're at home both.
Burnley are home to Burnley home to Watford 3:00 on Saturday. Sheffield United away to Cardiff 3:00 Saturday, which won't be straightforward. Should win, it won't be straightforward. They're on the road. Middlesbrough away to Plymouth should win that, and Sunderland home to Norwich won't be a straightforward game for them.
So
either,
and you get very strange fixed results at this time of year as well, where things can sort of just even themselves out a little bit, and you've got 3 games in such a short space of time as well. So yeah, there's a lot of football to be played over Christmas and New Year, and yeah, I fully expect to hopefully get a bagful on Saturday afternoon and get players near the Oxford defence, and once that first goal does go in, it'll set everybody down. And what I'd like to see is, if they do get 1 or 2, keep going for it, keep going for it. And that's no disrespect to what we've done this season at home, because we've been absolutely brilliant at home. But I'd like to get 5 or 6 in a game. We haven't scored 5 since Ellen Road, I think since Stoke City at the back end of the 1920 season. We haven't scored 6 at home since Queen's Park Rangers back in 2004-2005 season. So yeah, knowing Leeds will probably 1-0, but it'd just be nice to, as I say, take the handbrake off, really go at Oxford on Saturday and get a lot of goals.
I do have a theory, and I could be wrong, but I have a theory. After we finished the stream last night, just thinking about the performances, this time last season, Leeds had also dropped 16 points away from home.
Yes, that's correct.
Very, very similar. And then in the second half of the season, Leeds took off, and that was great. Now, I don't think it's all down to Leeds, both sides of it, and last year as well. My thinking is this. First half of the season, a lot of teams Leeds will play, they will go into that game of thinking, must not lose. Or if we can pick up anything against Leeds, that's a point you probably bank on not getting throughout the season. So it's your little extras.
Yeah.
But in the first half of the season, you can afford to maybe go for a draw. But once the season turns, now all of a sudden you're either chasing playoffs, chasing promotion, or avoiding relegation. So now you can't just sit back all the time and just hope for a point. Sometimes you're going to have to go for it. And I think last season, teams started to go for it in the second half of the season with left gaps, and Leeds exploited them.
Much so.
And I kind of feel the same thing will happen this year, because if you're down amongst the bottom sides, if you're a Portsmouth, you're not sitting back against Leeds United when we come to Fratton Park, because you can't, because you need to get something.
You need the points, absolutely.
And I think that will open it up for Leeds a little bit. I think there will be a change in mentality in the second half of the season from other teams, because I think it was there last year. But again, it's only a theory. It's in my head. I'm probably trying to clutch at straws, but I was just thinking, as a manager, if I was in the first half of the season going up against Leeds, I'm setting myself out to get a point. That's a great result.
Yeah.
If I'm 3 points from safety or 3 points away from the playoffs in the second half of the season, I'm thinking, well, if I can get a point against 3 points, that's not planned for, and that could fix mistakes earlier on in the season for clubs as well. So I think once it opens up, it'll be a bit different as well. I want to talk about some form players, and Daniel Farke has mentioned rotation coming into this busy period of time with the games that will be coming up. Willie Gnonto is a player who's been in very inconsistent form this season. Started the season very, very well, then went off the boil, was chipping in with a couple of goals and assists, but not putting in fantastic performances. And the last couple of games, again, it seems to have gone off the boil with him. Again, he seems to be drifting out of games and not having the impact that he did have. You've got Manor Solomon, you've got Dan James, and you've got the other winger,
Large Ramazani,
who, should be at this stage ready to at least play 40 minutes or 45 minutes, get a half out of him. What would you do with Leonto coming into this game stats? And when you talk about rotation, where do you think the areas of rotation should be?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because every player, and it's not just at Leeds, every player will go through peaks and troughs throughout the season, throughout the career. Yeah. And I think Willie's still a very important part of this squad. And he obviously got the winner against Swansea in a chaotic game back there, back in November. So, yeah, he's got options there. And I think having the likes of Nonto, James, Ramizani as well, and Manor Solomon, they're going to be sort of really going for it at the moment, aren't they, with the wingers? Yeah. And it's not a position that we're short on. And I think it's important that he probably does rotate it, because you want to keep the squad as fresh as possible over the festive period, because you've got a very quick turnaround from the Derby game. I'm caps looking there.
Why are you shouting at us, Paul? Why are you shouting at us?
Thank you. From the Derby game to the Stoke City game, so it wouldn't surprise me if you saw a little bit of rotation. And every player will go through peaks and troughs. It happens to strikers. Like Alan Shearer went through a stage where he didn't score for a while. So it happens to every single player. And Willie will know that. Willie will know what he needs to do to get where he needs to be back in his head as well. So, yeah, it's an important time. You've got a 3-day gap from Stoke to Derby, and you've got, another 3-day gap from the 29th to the 1st of January. So it'll be important to rotate the squad and keep everyone fresh before sort of the festive period finishes against Hull City on the 4th of January, before the FA Cup tie against Harrogate Town on the 11th. So, yeah, I think it's important that Daniel juggles his squad. I'm sure he will. He knows what he's doing. He's been here so many times before. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he juggles his squad. But every single player, not just at Leeds, will up and down the country, will go through a period where they're not in the target, they're not scoring, they just need one to go off the backside or something, and something to go right. And Willie will know that, and he'll be working ever so hard. He's a popular player. The fans absolutely love him. So it'll come together. He's still only young as well, and people forget that when he signed, he was very young as well. So he's got plenty of time on his side. He's made a lot of appearances in a short space of time as well. I think he's coming up to nearly 100 appearances in the Leeds shirt as well. So, yeah, I'm not disappointed with his form at all. I think it is what it is. It's ups and downs with every player, so it'll come good when it needs to, and it'll be there scoring some important goals. He scored a lot of important goals last season as Leeds made their way to the playoff final.
Has this year as well. He has popped up some big ones this year.
Yeah.
And he is still one of the highest goal contributors that we've got right now. And Sean is being cynical, Sean. He ain't bloody Shearer, though. That wasn't the point he was making, that it was Shearer. He's saying that even players like that go through bad runs. So, Jesus, Willie's expected to have a couple of bad runs as well.
Absolutely.
Shane saying, by the way, Andrew, great name. Shane Dalton.
Oh, thank you.
Dalton,
oh, Michael, there's another one. Pleased to meet you, Shane. It's a good name.
Richard says, tempo. I'm going to get that printed on a T-shirt, I think, at this stage, because that's all Tempo. Yeah, and I am a fan of Hank's idea. Get it to the byline and smash it in the mixer. I'm a big fan. As they used to say in Dublin, put it in the kitchen. I'll be in there to get on the end of it. So, yeah. And Sean knows he's just being cheeky.
Being cheeky.
Yeah, so, there's a couple of other bits. Parker in the press conference talked about rotation. We'll see what happens. Midfield, possibly. I'd like to see Josh Gilavogi come in and not just be against Harrogate. I think Oxford, if you were to bring James DeBio in, or you were to bring Gilavogi in the league, this is probably the game to bring them in, to be honest, looking at the away record of teams that won the worst in the league. So probably, I don't know if he'll do much, but he was also asked about the PGMOL letter. Did he get a letter because of referee Busby's performance against Preston? What did you make of that performance, lads?
I don't quite know how he wasn't sent off. Having watched it on the replay, it looked a straight red, let alone a yellow. And if he does get sent off, it's in a completely different game, and Leeds probably go on and win the game. And that's what I kind of mean about fine margins. Blackburn should have had a player sent off as well for the tackle on Junior Firpo. So, yeah, the officiating at times is frustrating, and I think Busby will know he made a poor decision on Saturday afternoon. Because as I say, the red card comes out, Leeds could probably go on and win that game, and they showed in the second half that Yeah, and it's so frustrating. It is really frustrating some of the decisions. And if one goes one way, like we did at Blackburn, when they should have potentially had a red card, Leeds may have gone on got something from the game. Same with Preston as well. And it's those fine margins and those games. If you turn those games around and flip them on its side and they come 2 wins, we're probably top of the league. So yeah, it was a mistake. I think even Dermot Gallagher said on Sky on Monday morning with his ref watch that it was a red card, and there's no disguising it. And he was very clever, was Paul Heckingbottom, and taking him off at half time because he knew it was on a yellow card. It was Ben Whiteman, wasn't it, if memory serves me right, from Saturday. And Heckingbottom knew. Heckingbottom's a very honest manager, and he knew that one more tackle he was off, and he was a very lucky boy not to get sent off. So if he does get sent off, I still maintain Lee's probably going to win that game of football. And it's a bit of a graveyard for red cards. He's deep. Del Costley, Ilan Melier got sent off last season. I thought the referee just lost the game a little bit, because if that is a red card, it kind of sets us still up for the rest of the game. And unfortunately, that one wasn't a red card, and Leeds end up drawing the game. Okay, they got a point, which could be an important point. But yeah, disappointing he didn't get down to 10 men.
Yeah, and I get that, and I accept that. But I'm always a believer of look after your job and don't rely on anybody else to do it for you. And I think you're playing a team against Preston. Go get the goal. Go after them. Get a result. Don't worry about anybody else. I think if you look back at the end of the season and say, well, if this had happened and that had happened, I think if you go to every single team in the league, they'll all have moments where they'll go, well, if that had happened for us, and it's hypotheticals, but you've just got to look after your jobs, I think, and getting the goal back at the end of Preston, funnily enough, I think should lift this team, because we've seen that 1-0 before, and we know when it happens, Leeds lose 1-0.
Yeah.
The bulk of Daniel Farke's away losses, and I think James Marshman has done a piece on this as well, are 1-0. So there was a trend there. For him to be able, for the team to be able to go and get an equaliser at the very end there, just broke that mould a little bit, and we can get a goal in these situations, which is nice.
And it kind of felt a bit like a victory in the end. I know it wasn't, but when you come away from home and you've drawn a game in the 93rd minute, it just gears up the players, and they'll have gone into training on Monday morning with a little bit of a umph about themselves, that they got a point away from home, and ready to go for this 4 games in 12 days or so.
Yeah, Wayne is asking about anyone come out about the FA. Leeds have received no contact from the FA or the PGMOL in relation to the referee's performance this time. So no apology letter for Daniel Farke this time, but I think possibly mentioning it in a press conference the last time means they're unlikely to send him anymore in the future, because he's just going to mention it in the press. One thing I was happy to see, Stats, because again, this came up during the podcast during the week, is are dirty Leeds losing a little bit of their dirt? Are they getting a bit nice? And are they a bit too nice? It was very nice for me to see Daniel Farke visibly angry on a sideline. I want to see that. I want my feelings about performance and referee. Don't need him to go at people, but I want to see that it annoys him and that he's angry about it and he wants to do something about it.
Yeah.
And it's a strange thing, but when I saw him get annoyed, I was like, yes, that's what I want to see.
Yes, that's what you want to see as a fan. Absolutely. I don't think we're ever going to lose that tag, because that tag goes back to the Revy era, doesn't it, with the likes of Jack Charlton, and Billy Bremner, etc., etc. So I just feel that some of the officiating, as Daniel has said, has been disappointing. And as I say, you can go back to key decisions, and as you say, I use the term fine margins once again. We get those decisions, you probably start with 5 or 6 more points in the Championship. So it's not all doom and gloom for me. I'm certain they'll crack this away for them. I really am. I want to see Far kicking, drinking, or not. So yeah, I don't know who the ref is on Saturday. I've not had a chance to look yet. But it's another opportunity to get 3 points.
Well done. So
yes, but the way, and I can agree with you in a way. Play the referee. If you're good enough to go and beat the team without the decisions, that's a sign of a good. And I've always maintained that. I'm not one for moaning all the time on decisions. Yes, they should have had a red card with Ben Whiteman on Saturday. I think everyone's clearly seen that. But again, 4 games coming up: Oxford home, Stoke away, Derby away, Hull City at home. 10 points. If we get 10 points, we're 50 points already, and then we've got a wonderful opportunity to go and push on in that second half of the season.
Yeah, exactly. Stats, as Pierre says, that's the goal. I do think it'll get better, but I was very happy in another part of the press conference today to hear the question being asked around are there any risk of selling any players in January? Does that has to happen if you want to bring players in? And Farkas said that the club is under no pressure to sell players if they want to buy. And in fact, probably sounded a bit confident and bullish about Leeds having funds to spend. And that's the second time he's leaned into that with the answer to the marquee signing a couple of weeks ago. So there's a lot of players been linked. Or Turgerman seems to be the one that's on the forefront. The Daily Mail came out with that story, and the Daily Mail have pretty much been on the money with every story that they've done about Leeds as an exclusive. And they seem to be very close to the 49ers management. So interesting one to see. Is a young striker, but very much in the mold of what Leeds would look for. Very good at pressing, very, very physical, and he's a big lad as well. Doesn't score the most amount of goals, but does a lot of the other stuff that we don't get up front. Is it an area you want to see Leeds dip into stats? Are you happy to see Leeds dipping into transfer market in January? Or do you think it's just...
It's a tough one, isn't it, with strikers? Because there's also question marks over Patrick Bamford, isn't there, at the moment? There are reports linked with him this week. So I think from reading Fark's comments, he said there'll be no dealings until January the 4th, until we've got through the Hull City game, and then we'll assess it, because you are going to get injuries and suspensions at this time of the season. It just part of the nature of it. Doing it another striker, it's very difficult to say, because you don't know what Pirro and Joseph and possibly Bamford will be like. Now, on January last year, Paddy went on a run and he scored quite a few goals in a few games, and could that happen again? I do not know, but it's how you keep everybody happy at this time of the season. You've got a massive part of the season coming up for not only for the club, but for the history of the club as well, to try and get back into the Premier League. So I don't expect too much movement. I know they're saying they might need a number 10, but there is options to play Brendan Aronson possibly in that number 10 role as well. So yeah, I think what they'll do is they'll get to the end of the Hull City game, the KCOM or the MChem Stadium, shall I say, on January the 4th, see where they're on the league. They've then got 20 odd games left the second half of the season, and then they'll see where they are going to the Harrogate game, and after that I think Sheffield Wednesday after that at home. So yeah, they might dip in. It's very difficult as a January transfer window, because you got to try and get up to speed very, very quickly, especially with the way the Championship is so relentless, and it can be quite difficult to get players in January as well. So potentially, obviously, the one that everyone remembers in January is Jean-Kevin Augustin, and what a disaster that was back in January 2020. We all thought he was the second coming. I think he played 41 minutes or something in his Leeds United career. So yeah, it's an important time. We'll see where we are. I hate the January transfer window, because it kind of feels a bit like panic buys, not from a Leeds perspective, but a lot of teams go out there and just panic buy players and sort of cherry pick players for the second half of the season. They've got to be the right fit. I'm sure the recruitment team are aware of that. They'll fully know what they're doing, and I think January, it might be quite quiet, but also depends on stature of player and injuries and suspension, to see where we are as a football club come the end of that Hull City game.
Yeah, I'm glad they're looking at it, because we don't want to stand still. Sheffield United's takeover is going to go through, so they're likely to go spend the money in January. Ben Burton Diaz has already been linked with a return to them as well. Burnley are likely to dip into the market as well and bring a couple of players in. You just don't want Leeds to stand still and get caught in that.
No,
but
absolutely.
As you say, are you just bringing a player in for 6 months, less than 6 months, or are you trying to bring in somebody who can play in the Premier League? And that's a tougher person to get in. But
absolutely,
we'll have to wait and see. There's plenty of questions there. Skip saying it's promotion a must this season. For me, it is, because I know what the finances will look like next season, and you're going to lose the bulk of this squad, I think, if Leeds don't go up next year. Is it must do for you, Stats?
Yeah, I think after coming so close last season, I think we have to go up this year, and I think if we don't, there'll be then question marks over the squad, as you say, with the players. The fans may get itchy with Daniel Farke. So yeah, they have to go up this season. Obviously next season is a different kettle of fish with the Premier League, but the longer it goes on without being in the Premier League, the harder it becomes. Obviously it took us 16 seasons last time out. If it takes us 16 seasons this time out, I'll be 50 odd. I don't particularly want to be 50 odd and having half my life in the outside the Premier League. So yeah, it is a must. They do have to go up, and obviously you're right with the finances, with sort of the parachute payments as well. They do have to go up this season for me.
Yeah, Yeah, I agree with you. As Johnny says, 49ers a year wiser about the transfer window. And it's
Yes.
funny because I got into the same bracket as them last year. I thought we had enough. I thought Connor Roberts coming in was actually all we probably needed. But you don't expect the amount of injuries and issues we had after the March international break to kick in the way it did, and it derails everything. So, Stats, before I come to you for your score prediction, I am just going to rattle through a couple of the scores that people have put in a couple of comments. So Tony Walton says, I'm being modest and predicting a 6-0 win. And then I woke up. I don't know. You never know. Sean's going for a typical Leeds, a 2-0. Top Banana reckons 3-0 up at halftime. 2 more when it opens up, so 5 at the end. Herbert thinks 5-0. 1-0 will do. A win is a win is a win. Hank says 4-1. We always have that 1, don't we? We always think we're going to see. I always struggle with 3-0 or 3-1, always. Wayne's going 4-1. PBS is going 3-2. Eugene 3-0. Limborn 3-0 as well. And Pierre's going for 3-0 with a handful of missed chances. That's a guarantee. That's a guarantee. Tony says 3-1 or 6-1. Thanks, Tony. Andrew says 2-0. Thirsty Pod with 3-0. Wayne says, I've gone 2-0, but I'm saying Solomon and DJ. I think Solomon starts this game. And Andy said, are we expecting a landslide result? Don't count your chickens. I think it's needed, is why I think so many people are leaning into it, because I think it's important. PBS says, have any of these journalists ever asked Farka why 70 minutes is a popular time to make a subs? I've stopped criticizing the timing of the subs because they're scoring. And unfortunately, it's an impact this year. They were losing 9 or 10 goals this season. So until that changes, I think you can't really argue what he's doing. Eugene says 25 games left, 2 points average, 50 plus 42 equals 92. Cracking maths there. What are the chances? We have to make sure we pick up wins away from home, because if we have a wobble at home, that we drop way below that 2 points per game. So that's important to make sure we're hanging on the edge right now. Tony says January transfers may be a bit controversial. What about Donny van der Beek at number 10? I think the Donny van der Beek train has driven off or chugged off into the distance a while ago. I don't think that'll happen ever again. Gavin says, start Joseph. I'm done with Pirro starting. There's the Pirro or Joseph this week.
It's the same question every week, isn't it?
Isn't it? And I don't care, because we don't want to come off the bench and score. So whatever, And Pierre saying the Daily Fail being right, I think you need treatment here. One of the benefits, Pierre, of doing a daily Leeds show for 2 years is I get to see all these sources and all these stories. Since the 49ers have come out, the day before Daniel Farke was appointed, Team Talk did an exclusive saying that Patrick Vieira will be named Leeds United manager. The Daily Mail said Daniel Farke will be named manager. Farke was named manager. The first week, the 49ers had their staff meeting at Elland Road. The 49ers invited the Daily Mail for an exclusive behind the scenes. When they were doing the stadium work at Elland Road, the 49ers invited the Daily Mail across to Levi Stadium in San Francisco to view the stadium and the plans. And they've been right on quite a number of player stuff. There's no information coming out of Leeds being leaked out. The Daily Mail, since the 49ers have bought them over, seem to be the only one that have the inside track on what's going on. And one of the things I took out about, even if Leeds don't go for Turgeman or Louis Barry, the line that stuck out to me was they are planning on making additions in the forward line. Now, you look at Joe Gelhardt's expected to possibly go to Rangers, and Paddy Bamford could be going to Genoa or Wrexham. That's 2 strikers. Leeds will definitely bring 1 in then. So it kind of makes sense when you put it all together like that. But they've got a decent track record since the 49ers have taken ownership of the club. So that's just the caveat on that. And then Dave Webster saying, nice to have not to have a nice mentality this Saturday, but beat Oxford 4-0. And let's hope that we do. So quite a bit in there. Pierre says that perhaps give up political commentary and just do some. Sats, what are you going for? Where's your head at with the game? What's going on?
I'm going for the same result as when we met them in the FA Cup back in 97-98 in the third round of the FA Cup, when Nigel Martin got his 1 a red card at Elland Road. A 4-0 Leeds victory and a bit of a statement victory. I don't think off the top of my head Oxford ever won at Elland Road. I could be wrong in that one. I probably shouldn't have said that, but it's put the kibosh on it. But a victory, a fast performance, 9-1. We've never scored 9 in a game. We've scored 10 and 8 in games. I think we've scored 9 in a game. I don't think you get 9 goals these days unless you're Southampton. 4-0 Leeds. And one thing I just wanted to touch on, Stephen McPhail is the sporting director of Shamrock Rovers tonight. He takes his team to Stamford Bridge. Ironically, 25 years to the day that he scored 2 goals for Leeds United at Stamford Bridge in a fantastic 2-0 victory that took then David O'Leary's side to the top of the Premier League. So I just wanted to get that little segue in there for Stephen McPhail. I've always got a lot of time for Stephen McPhail, and wonderful left foot he had here at Ellen Road.
He really did, only for injuries. Him and Alan Mabry as well when he was at the club as well. Alan Mabry had a cracking career, only for bad injuries at the wrong time of his career as well. During a time where there was a lot of Irish players playing for Leeds, or around Leeds. Damien Lynch was in the reserves. Played against him one when he was playing for Bohemians, and he absolutely destroyed me. Playing fullback and I was playing right wing, and I couldn't live with him. He was taken off at half time. I was dreadful against him.
I think Mabry got done against Lazio, didn't he? I can't remember who it was. Was it Pavel Nedved that went right down his calf? And yeah, it was a horrible injury. He didn't even get sent off for that. So yeah, wonderful Irish connection. We can always do a show on that if Nick, there's so many Irish links with Leeds United as well. But yeah, just going back to Saturday, 4-0 Leeds and a statement victory.
Great. We all want to see that. We'll save the Irish podcast for Paddy's Day. I think it'd make perfect sense.
That's fantastic.
Get a couple of the Irish YouTubers that are floating around all the different podcasts as well, and have a full one. Any big milestones for this game coming up? Stats?
Nothing really coming up at the moment. The main one to keep an eye on is Byram and Melly. I think on 197 at the moment for Leeds, and Oxford, as I said, have never won a game, never won a league game at Ellen Road. They did win in the FA Cup when I was a kid, 3-2 in the fourth round of the FA Cup back in 93-94, and Jim Magilton scored the winning goal then. I think he was Northern Irish, Jim Magilton. He went on to play for Southampton. He signed for Southampton 2 days after that victory at Ellen Road. So yeah, they've never won a league game at Ellen Road. Have Oxford not played too many league games at Ellen Road. I think they've played 84, 85, 85, 86. This is off the top of my head, 88, 89 and 89, 90. So not too many visits from the Yellows to Ellen Road. So it's a very rare fixture in English football terms.
Yeah, nice to have a different game on the calendar for once.
Absolutely.
But yeah, let's go and get the result. Real quick one, just to let people know, for those asking about the watch along on Saturday at 3 o'clock, there's a bit of work in this. This is the platform. It's called Big Up. Bigup.com and then /LU the view, and that'll bring you into my page. The difference with this is, and this is where it gets a bit interesting, if you do want to watch the stream and you want to come on stream with me and have a chat at halftime about the performance or full time, all you've got to do is, once you're in this, is send me your request and I can bring you straight in with your camera, and there's no messing around. So we can have live chats around it as well. I think I've said in the community tab, it'd be nice to put some faces on the names I see in the comments all the time. So it'd be nice to do that. Stats can pop in for the away games when he's not up in Elland Road. But the other thing as well is, if you want to watch this, you can watch it for free. It's no problem. None of this costs any money. But if you want to comment, you need to create an account and join the community in there by pressing the community button, which will be on your version of this. I'll have join community. It's all free. There's just an extra couple of steps. And if you want to see that, I'll be doing it on Saturday. And as I say, if it goes well, we might do more of it. If it's a disaster, we'll stay away from it forever. We'll do other things over there as well. It's just a really interesting platform. It's got active tactics boards that I can use and go through some tactical stuff. All the work is done for us over here. So trying it out, come over, keep me company on Saturday, if nothing else, and we'll have a look and see how this is done. Danny's already there. Great to see. Last one, Lazio, Stoke 1, Leeds 0. When is that from? Stoke 1, Leeds 0. That's a long time ago.
Was that last season?
Stoke 1, Leeds.
Was that possibly from last season when the beaters and Paddy missed a penalty back in October 2023? Yeah.
Yeah, strange one. Anyway, folks, we'll leave it there. Massive thanks. I'm going for 5-0 because feck it. I think they will. I think that's
yeah, that'll do.
I've been waiting 2 years for this. It has to come soon. Debut a live stream. Let's hope it works. Folks, have a great rest of your day. Stats, thank you as always for popping in. Enjoy the game up at Ellen Road on Saturday. Assuming you're on commentary on Saturday?
Yes. So we'll be there for Hospital Radio and very much looking forward to it. And don't forget, plenty of goals.
Plenty of goals. Folks, enjoy the rest of your evening. Talk to you soon. See you.